Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome back. Today, day 16 out of 21. We are rapidly approaching the final stretch. And as we do so, it's important that we calm the nerves and slow down a little extra right now, because this is the part where everything begins to come together. Every little aspect that has been brought up throughout the process will start to become a little bit more clear. And as it crystallizes, it's important to start to play with it in a way that it aligns for you and that it translates for you. And this is where now what we're starting to dive into is this concept of performance. And performance, although it's something that can be regarded as a superpower, I mean, just look at the Olympics. We are seeing the best in every sport performing at the highest level. It can also be a trap. It can be a mental trap. It can be a behavior trap. And it can become a box that you remain in for the rest of your life in a way that doesn't translate into the growth that you're seeking, into the progress that you're craving. And it's important that when we think about performance, that we think about it as the way that I've defined it before, being something that is measured by feel. This is the quote that I've been using, I think, my whole adult career, which is true human performance is measured by feel. And the first question to ask ourselves here is, what is truth? What is truth to you? When you think about truth, more than fact and reality, it may be perspective that comes up. And an example that I really enjoy that I heard from listening to Ram Dass's lectures is the example of you're driving a car and you're driving a car through a town. And as you're driving through the town, you notice that there is a sound in your engine. So you begin to look for a mechanic. You start to look for a shop to pull over and see if they can get it checked out for you. And whether you find it or not, that's what you are seeking. That's what you're looking for. Then imagine yourself being another driver, but this driver, instead of having a sound in the engine, craving pizza, being a little hungry. And all of a sudden, looking around this town as one is driving through from the perspective of hunger. I'm looking for a pizza place. I'm looking for a restaurant. I'm looking for something that's going to satisfy my need. Those two drivers, the first driver who drove through with the engine light on and the sound in their engine looking for a mechanic, and the driver who was hungry, went through the same town, but their experience of the town was completely different because there were two different needs. And these needs, if we think about them, start to translate into how we behave, our performance. So, what is truth? Well, truth is your experience in reality coupled with that which is a collective reality, that which we would consider to be fact, that which has been not only tested by ourselves, but by others, and then cross-referenced. This is what happens in the scientific community. This is why you can't just publish a paper and call it fact. You need it to be cross-referenced, challenged, stress-tested. But your unique approach to your performance, your studies, your ways of thinking about the world are your reality, are your truth. And those must be at the forefront of how we experience this world in order to make sense of it. A quick aside, this doesn't mean that that reality, that truth, can't be changed. So, what is really performance when we're thinking about it? It is simply deliberate action. It is action, it is behavior that you are choosing to participate in. Now we know that the majority of what we do is reflexive, reactive. It's happening without us even being conscious of it. We say things, we do things that we're not even aware that we are participating in. But when we are performing, we are being deliberate. Now, last year, the word performative was trending, and it was specifically associated to the social reform that the entire world is currently going through. And this notion of being performative is the notion of presenting as something that is not true. So here it's really important that when we think about performance, we don't think about it as something performative, but rather something that is our most authentic, genuine, our truest self-expression being manifested in context, deliberately, by choice. And how do we measure this? Well, if you are the car driving through the town and you're looking to get the engine fixed and you go to the mechanic and they fix it for you, the fixing of the problem, taking the sound away, the noise that was coming from the engine away, that is a metric. There was a sound before, now it's been fixed, there is no sound, there's no noise coming from the engine. Thus, I have a data point, something that tells me that a standard has been met, a need has been met. Thus, I can say complete. That is a type of metric. Then we can add in other factors such as time. How much time is it going to take to get the need met? We can add in a factor like money. How much is it going to cost to get the need met? While the need is getting met, how is that affecting me? Because once you put the car in the shop, how are you going to continue your drive? Do you have to put yourself on pause? Or are you going to have an alternative plan? What is the experience that affects you the moment you pursue your needs? When I first moved to the US in 2004, one of the things that I was intrigued by was the production of media. So I got involved in commercials and some movies, and I got to be in front of the camera and behind the camera. And in talking to the camera operators, one of the things that they spent the most amount of time talking about was the choice of lenses. And not only the choice of lenses, but the filters that they were going to put on these lenses to capture exactly a light that allowed them to later on color grade the project in a way that matched the tone of the movie, the tone of the project. In addition to that, depending on the lens that they were choosing, they could capture something that was feeling more close or distant, or added a certain level of texture, and allowed the camera to capture an emotion. The other thing that I noticed when talking about cameras, and especially lenses, was the art of pulling focus. Pulling focus is when you have a subject moving and the lens has to adapt through adjusting the focus in order to keep the subject in focus the whole time. And pulling focus is a skill set of its own. And there are masters in this craft that know exactly how to measure it, exactly how to time it, how to connect with the actor or the subject, and then move with it. And something that I learned about when thinking about pulling focus was when I was in Singapore working on a project that was being shot by National Geographic, how hard it was to pull focus when working with animals, because you never knew what the next move was going to be. But those who were able to pull focus by working with animals were the ones that were considered the master. Anyways, this analogy comes back to our emotions. Our emotions being the lens, and our ability to work with them is the pulling of the focus. And why do we care about pulling focus? Well, because we are looking for clarity on the subject that we're focusing on. I'm looking for clarity on the need that I'm trying to get met. And in order to become a master at pulling focus and using the lens and choosing the right lens, which is the right emotion that is going to translate into moving me in the direction that I want to go, requires a foundation, a blueprint. And what is this foundation? What is this blueprint? Well, it's our purpose. And the purpose, like Thomas Carlyle said, is key because a person without a purpose is like a ship without a rudder. Purpose gives you direction. Purpose also gives you a base to come back to, a base to contrast with. Purpose also unites, it connects, it allows more than one participant to join in on the intention that the purpose holds for us. Purpose is also that which allows us to get a specific need met. And how does this work? Well, it works because the purpose, when you associate with it, when you have a relationship with it, when that purpose is met, it feels good. This is kind of like if we think about our purpose as the glue that connects the components that build the machine that is directing us towards getting our needs met, that's what we could call coherence, cohesiveness. But the feeling good that the purpose brings is what we could call harmony. Harmony is when you have two different notes that when you put them together sound good. And when they sound good, it feels good. This is important because if you have a purpose, which we're going to talk about here in a second, that is coherent but doesn't feel good, is not in harmony, then we're not on the right purpose. We're not on the right track. And I share this because although a lot of us believe we have a sense of purpose, our purpose is something we have arrived at more so because we've been influenced by others, a community, a culture, a way of doing things, than our own volition, than our own thought process, our own reflections, our own perspectives. And this is an opportunity to say, okay, do I have a purpose? And if so, where does that purpose come from? If you're a filmmaker, the purpose is to tell a story. To tell a story in a way that people can connect with. Logically, there has to be rationale. Emotionally, there needs to be a sense of feeling. And physically, you want to move people. If you are in the fitness industry and you are a trainer, your purpose is to direct people towards health. There's a very disappointing definition to health if you look it up, which is the lack of disease or illness. When I read that definition, what it's telling me is that health doesn't have a direction. other than moving away from pain. There's something missing there. So as a trainer, for example, when you are moving people towards health, you need to have a definition for health. One of the reasons I fell in love with CrossFit when I first found it was because when I attended one of their courses, the first question they asked was, does anybody here have a definition for fitness? And there were 50 coaches, trainers in the room, and everybody had a slightly different one, all pretty valid. And they said, they being the CrossFit instructors at the time, said, well, our definition of fitness is this. And they shared their definition, which is a mouthful. It's increased work capacity across broad time mole domains. Whatever that means is fine. But they had a clear definition. And they said, everything that we do must adhere to this definition. If it is in alignment, if it is coherent, if it is in harmony with it, then it belongs to the CrossFit methodology, or it fits within the CrossFit methodology. And this is something that when you put it in such clear terms in front of you, it's very hard to go wrong. And the reason is because when you become specific in what your purpose is, you are actually opening yourself up to all new options, to all new possibilities. True performance is measured by feel. And how do we measure it? Well, we measure it by noticing how it feels in our head, rationally, how it feels in our heart, emotionally, how it feels in our body, physically. Every craft has this. And every purpose is there to give you a path towards that experience of coherence and harmony. And that's what we're going into next. And this is something that if you have attended the interface or lifestyle design, you've done before. And it's what we're going to do in our journaling practice today. We're going to start to explore our purpose from a few different angles. And how are we going to do it? Well, we're going to start our journaling with the same prompt that we started with yesterday, which is by having a brief check-in and asking ourselves, how are we doing? The second thing we're going to do is we're going to close our mental tabs. What is closing our mental tabs? Well, closing our mental tabs is sharing something that we need to process, a dream that we had, writing down the to-do list, or expanding upon how you're feeling in context to a specific situation that you may be in. So we're going to start every day with the same prompts, a brief check-in, and then just closing our mental tabs. And remember that these are interchangeable. You can start with whatever question you want, with whatever prompt you want, whatever feels right in that moment. And then we're going to dive into our purpose reflection here. And the first prompt that we're going to answer is going to be, what is it that you love about what you would consider your craft? So in other words, what we're going to do is we're going to put our craft hat on, and we're going to answer the questions from that perspective. So if you are a filmmaker, you are a trainer, you are an artist, you are a writer, you're going to put that hat on. And I want you to remember what you wrote about in regards to your craft like last week, because in there are a lot of clues for answering the questions that I'm about to share. But the first one, as I said, is, what do you love about your craft? What is it that you love about being a writer? What is it that you love about being a photographer? I want you to expand on this and just share everything that is coming up. Don't limit yourself. If you can't share anything specific because it's simply not coming up, once again, you can doodle it. You can draw it. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, what is your unique style in regards to your craft? How would you define or describe your style. How do you do things? What is it that is unique about your expression? How does it present itself? The third question I want you to ask yourself is, how does your craft serve others? If you're a woodworker and you make chairs, well, I'm giving them a place to rest. I'm giving them a place to sit so that they can eat. I'm giving them a place to sit so they can eat, nourish themselves, and maybe sit with other people and have conversation. When they're having this conversation, what is happening is they are working through whatever is causing resistance and not allowing their relationship to flow. Allow yourself to see the domino effect of your service through your craft. Describe that, write about that. And then the final question is, what impact does your craft make? Now, this is different than how does it serve. The impact is the changes that occur, the specific changes that occur because of what you do. If I'm driving through a town and I have a noise, a sound coming from my engine, and I have an engine light turning on the dashboard, and I am heading to a family reunion, getting that need met is what allows me to make it on time to the family reunion and thus experience whatever it is that I had to experience. With that experience that I'm having with my family, what is it that is changing in me? The change that happens in me because of that need that I got met by getting my car fixed and getting to my family reunion on time, that right there is the impact. This is one of the hardest questions to answer. And one of the reasons is because we all struggle to see the truth through other people's eyes. And when we serve somebody, we are only extrapolating, we are only projecting, we are only modeling as best as we can from our experience. But by doing this exercise, by realizing the impact that you're making, you're opening up a whole new realm of possibilities and understanding of the meaningful and significance that exists, the meaningful impact that you're making and the significance in every single ounce of effort that you put into what you do. And why is this important? Well, because when you become aware of this, you never stop showing up half-ass. You never allow your circumstances to limit your ability to be 100% present, 100% involved, 100% committed to what you're doing. And I want you to feel that for a second. What does it mean in you? What does it feel like to be 100% committed to your purpose, to your craft, to showing up, to serving others, to making an impact? What does it mean to be fully aware of that responsibility that you're taking on? Whatever that feeling is, whatever that emotion is, allow that to come up. And at the end of your journaling, you're going to give yourself 5 minutes in silence to sit with that emotion and to allow whatever vision associated to that emotion to come up and to be vividly present, like daydreaming, but allowing that elevated emotion to be 100% present. And once you've done that, you will have completed today's journaling exercise. Okay. All right. Much love, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. If you have any questions, message in the chat right now. If not, I will hear from you in the group. And now as we approach the final little stretch. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and simply enjoy the ride. So that being said, thank you for being here. Happy journaling, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.